An AI tool found hundreds of vulnerabilities in a code which were buried in their code for many years. And if you are someone who write code or getting into the coding, this video is for you. So today I'm going to talk about Claude Code Security, which they launched. It's from a company named Anthropic. And this code basically go and hunt for security vulnerabilities in your code, which are usually not detected by any traditional SaaS tool. And really, what does it mean for you as a developer? Should you be worried or should you be using it? What really has changed? Until now, the tool they scan for the code. If you're a developer, then you worked in a pretty simple way. These coding, you have to run a SAS scanning or static analysis against your code and make sure that there are no vulnerabilities, is free from and clean from any of those vulnerabilities and ready to push into the production environment. So how does it work? Basically, you have a continuous integration. It will look for the known vulnerabilities from a third-party tool or however you have configured from a database, and will look for thousands of known existing vulnerabilities. For example, and then there's a library, and then it will go and look into that. So this tool is actually now is looking at your core on a deeper level. So what the SAS scan tool, which I just said, it will look for known vulnerabilities and it will come and spit out. But this Claude Code Security, it will go, I don't know how many level deep, but it will understand the whole deployment, not looking at the lines of code. It will also look at the configuration or the misconfiguration integration. So this is what has changed and has been claimed from Anthropic, that this tool can go this much deeper. Like that existing tool, they just work like a spell checker. So there is a preset defined, and then it will go and check against the existing data, and it will say, okay, there are some vulnerabilities. For example, if in a code you have clear text username and password, it will detect that. If there is something like SQL injection, it will go and detect it and hey, tell you that hey, this is something SQL injection related vulnerabilities you have in your code. It will also look at something cross-site scripting and all that stuff. So those are the existing SAST scanning tool where they go on the predefined library of known vulnerabilities and then tell you, hey, you have to fix it before you push it to production. Otherwise, your code will have a lot of vulnerabilities. But going forward, this new tool basically, it transforms everything. What is the data flow, what kind of data is inside and all this. So that's a huge change, and that's usually a human does, or engineer, you have dedicated person who does it. But here it's totally different, and this AI capability will be able to detect and set. This is such a big shift. It can understand the whole pipeline there. The question is that should you be worried as a developer? If a AI tool can do a lot of deep inspection, then do you need a dedicated engineer in your code? Or you don't? Because many companies, a large enterprise, they have a dedicated team. Even in a mid-size, you have a small security team. You might have somebody to go through this code manually. The big question, should a developer be worried about it? One side, there are reasons to feel uneasy, because if an AI tool can go and find out all these deep inspection and found vulnerabilities in your code as a security engineer, then you may be at some pressure, because some of the more basic work review that a junior developer engineer folks did might be automated. Think of this way: if you are that junior developer or person whose job was to review the code, with this new AI related automation, your job may be at risk, and the team may expect a higher security standard by default, because security scanner is doing it by default. So they will expect higher standard. They will say, hey, we have these tools now. Why do we have vulnerabilities in your product or in your code anymore? So this is going to be put a lot of pressure on you. So there's going to be a situation like this. And it's not like as in the past, you just compile the code and good for the production. So if you are someone in this space, you have to really pay attention to it. So what does all of this actually mean for your career as a developer in 2026 and going forward? So here's how to think about it. First, security is no longer someone else's job. I've seen it many times when coder and developer they write the software. When it comes to security, they pass it on to a security team. And in large organization, there are different teams who own that and take the responsibility. But going forward, you as a developer, someone who writes the code, need to understand authentication, authorization, coding, validation, and the rule of least privileges, or need to know basic access and safe handling of secrets and that kind of stuff. Second, it is also important for you as a developer going forward is to understand the end-to-end data flow. And this is very going to be powerful because what you need to understand, if you look at the system, and you should be able to understand how the data is flowing from point A to point B and what are the component in between, maybe infrastructure component, because this is you are going to think the way this AI tool is thinking, because this AI tool claimed to be looking at deep level analysis, finding any misconfiguration and vulnerability. So you as a developer has to think like that in those situations. Third, developer has to do their best over the few years as the one who treat AI as part of their toolkit. So use them to review your code. I'm sure most of you already doing that, but somebody who's getting new into that, you need to know how to leverage these different AI tools that make it a part of your everyday job. Use them to double check the risky areas, especially as I mentioned before. There are also some frameworks available. You can use that OWASP, and they're specific for LLM as well. And you need to understand why it's flagging something as a dangerous or risky or critical and high, because if there are vulnerabilities, something being exposed by these AI tools, you need to understand, okay, if it's showing critical, what's the reason behind it? So you may have to do some investigation. So the point is that what I'm saying is that you do not need to really compete AI to finding every bug. The goal is to direct it, understand it, interpret what is showing on the screen, and then use a judgment to make a decision call and have a better decision. As I said, there are many areas for you may have to learn. So if you're a developer watching this video and wondering what to actually do it right now, here are some few steps in my opinion I can share with you. Pick an area of secure coding to better apply it watching this video next month or next week, and then understand about the input validation and authentication. Apply it to your current project. So this can be a project you may be working on, let's say LLM related or front end. You need to understand input validation and authentication. When you use an AI assistant or security tool, because there are integration available, and it will give you some recommendation. There are also some third-party tools available, but with this Anthropic, if you have access to free community option, you can use that. But then it prompt you and give you some, okay, this is a suggestion. So investigate the suggestion. Do not just reject it, because you never know, it can be exploited, and do not just really accept it. So you may have to put some extra effort there. And that's why you need to understand, okay, if suggesting it is safer, then you need to understand, okay, what is the problem and what needs to be done. And third thing, which is the most important thing, is about need to understand the data flows in your app. You need to trace the data flow, how the data is flowing from point A to point B, which is very important in every job. So do not just focus on the scripting and coding on the front end. I think this will change the job going forward. And also it depends which organization do you work for. It's a medium sized and large organization. You may have three engineers, including yourself, working versus large organization. You may have a dedicated security team, which usually happens in the large enterprise. So again, those things can change. So that's exactly the mental model you will need to learn when working with AI security tools. So if you are leveraging this, you are getting ahead of the industry, which is clearly what is happening. So if you're one of those, see it as an opportunity, that what should be doing it. So in a short term, I know it may sound a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what happened in the field of IT, what we have seen. And AI tool is just, in my opinion, is going to find the stuff what is usually human miss most of the time, because going through the hundred or thousands of lines of code is not possible. And we have been doing traditionally using a static analysis or SAS tool. I think this is going to be a game changer. But in the long term, if you're a developer who want to adapt and leverage, I think you cannot go wrong with that. And instead of ignoring it, you should adopt it and adapt accordingly. So what I'm now curious is, this kind of AI powered bug hunting tool, does it really make you excited about the future, or are you really nervous about it and thinking about your job security? So drop your thoughts in the comment below. I read every comment, and I would love to hear from you. And most likely, I'll come up with some more videos like this if you like this kind of content about AI, cybersecurity, DevSecOps, career related stuff. So that's pretty much I wanted to share in this video. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.